You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you want to know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business. Hey, we're all here, kinda.
Welcome back. Lost Dollar Business Club. Here we are again.
And we can't tell everybody what John was really doing in Austria, but we discussed it off air, and it's not a good thing at all. But he didn't find any Nazi gold.
And he saw many historical places.
Yes, he did. He went hunting, he said. And he said, and then you saw historical places. So, and then did you go visit the Hills Are Alive people? Did you do the Van Trapp tour?
I was in Salzburg, yes, but I did not do the Van Trapp tour. Yeah.
And here's the only reason I know this. By the way, it's a 6-hour tour. And I know this because when my mother-in-law was in Austria 2 months ago, he sent us a text and she goes, "You're never going to believe where I am." I go, "In the land of the friendly Nazis." And she goes, "Besides that," she said, "I'm in Austria." And I go, "That's what I just said." And then she said, "I am taking the Sound of Music tour." And I was like, "Oh, the Van Trapp tour." I said, "Very cool." And she said, and I figured, it's like any other tour, like you're an hour, you're in and out. She goes, "It's only 6 hours. I'm so excited." And I'm thinking to myself, all right, the movie is 6 hours. I could barely sit through that. Now you're going to go through. She said it was very interesting because they would talk about the difference between the reality of the movie and the reality of actual life, which I thought was cool. And then I said, "Did you realize that Julie Andrews and whoever, Christopher Plummer, weren't the real people?" Because she's Asian, she doesn't know. And then that was it. So yeah, so she said it was wonderful. So there's a plug for the Van Trapp tour in Austria. If you got nothing to do with 6 hours of your life, and there you go.
And you're in that part of the world. And John did not do that. John did other things, had other things.
Yeah. What did you do, John? Exactly. Tell us.
I went to look at other places other than the
Hills Are Alive.
The whole Sound of Music is for Americans. The Austrians, when you ask an Austrian, they're like, "No, I haven't seen the movie." What?
Yeah.
No.
So, it's a Disney movie, I think, isn't it?
It feels like a Disney movie.
I think it was because when it was made in the 60s, I think it was sort of to say, "Hey, listen, the Austrians aren't that bad." You know what I mean? Because it was really 20 years after the unpleasantness. And I think it was sort of like, let's just have a kumbaya moment. Like, let's make everybody love each other again type of thing. And I'm like, all right, you got to do what you got to do.
No, the Van Trapp family was a real family. Just the story is very...
A little...
the story maybe was a little massaged. Yeah.
It's a little mashugana, as they say. So, all right. So, Michael, you didn't get your mug yet. I see
the
that.
movie's not the true
so next week. So,
I didn't get the mug yet. No, but the mug. Remember, merchandise is available now for the Lost Dollar Business Club, and all of
you should have it next week.
And I should have it next.
You'll have your merch next week, so people can buy. The link will be below. People buy the merch. It'll help John take another trip somewhere to look for Nazi gold. And then there you go. All right. Well, we got that going for us. So before we go to our 15-second Betacoot commercial, so everybody listening on the podcast can get ready to hit the skip button. No, I'm just kidding. What are we talking about today?
All right. So in preparation, we've got a couple of good topics today. So we're talking about environmental, social, governance, investing, and really a critical view of whether it actually makes sense and who's actually in charge of these ratings. And that maybe it's maybe more of a scam than people think or people realize. And it's an important thing to talk about. And then we'll talk about AI deepfakes. So you've got the reality that we know that AI is already creating people's voices and mimicking their look and feel. So now deepfakes are a thing, and they've already started influencing elections in Slovakia. So now that might start influencing elections around the world. So we'll see, and worse. So we'll see what happens there. But got a couple big topics there. We'll give it a shot.
All right, boys and girls, we'll take our 30-second break. So all you people listening on the podcast, go run, get your coffee, go get yourself ready.
Right.
You people on YouTube, do whatever, and we'll see you guys in 30 seconds.
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bandicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bandicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club.
We should license the Beatles song "Revolution" for you. So when you say "join the revolution today," we can have that scream come.
Yeah,
you know, I'm going to be a revolution. That would just wake people up. So, and by the way, one other thing before we start the ESG scam, and I truly believe it's a scam. It's a scam. Is that as of the other day, we have over 500,000 views on our channel. We got our analytical company sent us a little thing. I think actually David even posted it on LinkedIn that we got a big congratulations. We have over 500,000 views, which I guess for a channel that's 13 months old is not
13
bad.
months. That's right. And it's well done. Excellent.
Yeah.
Cool farts. We've attached to the right ship.
We've attached to something. So there you go. So, all right. So let's discuss this ESG thing. And this came about because Michael and I apparently read the same article in the Financial Times and some other stuff.
Same moment.
And it basically, in my opinion, it's a scam. I'm sorry. I don't think
we discussed this on. Lots of people agree with that, including your good friend Elon Musk.
Yeah, I got you, Elon Musk, right here. So. Oh, if he thinks it's a scam, then it's good. We should. It's great. I take that back. No, I'm just kidding.
Several people say he may have a point. He did.
It's true. It is. To think about it, it's crap. And it doesn't do anything.
So what should the people on this podcast know about environmental, social, and governance factors in general? I mean, this was the idea of it was to say companies are not just responsible to their shareholders, they're responsible to stakeholders, they're responsible to their environment, to their society, and to their workers. And so all of those factors should be incorporated into a rating for the company itself. So that initial idea of saying, well, yeah, companies should be responsible global citizens was kind of perverted or turned into this idea of ratings that are actually not based on any sort of audited statements or anything that's backed up by much evidence. There's a lot of supposed analysis that goes into these ratings. But it's kind of a black box for a lot of companies that actually do these ratings. Is that
here's the issue I have though, just in general.
Yeah,
a corporation first of all is not a responsible anything. It is a corporation. It's not a citizen. Regardless, I know they made the case in Florida that a company is a person and some ridiculous crap. So I don't care.
Yeah, I do.
At the end of the day, my job as a board member or my job as a CEO or a COO or CFO or whatever I am, my job is to the company to make sure that it's profitable and it's run well and everything we do is legal. The other part of my job is to the shareholders and stakeholders to make sure that they make a profit. Other than that, this rest of this ESG is just crap. And if you need to govern yourself because you're too stupid to know what your job is, you shouldn't be in the C-suite or sit on a board. This goes back to, in my opinion, I could be totally wrong, doubt it, the woke. We have to be woke and we have to be conscious of everybody's feeling. I don't want to be conscious of your feelings. I don't care how you think. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like what we do at our company, then don't buy our product. And you know what I mean? And this ESG thing is it's like, let's go hug a tree. Let's go make everybody feel better. Well, but it doesn't do anything.
Well, that's the big question is it really some sort of objective viewpoint on the company, or is it just a subjective way to get companies to participate in the wokeness that is now around our society? And I think the answer is increasingly obvious that it's that just labeling a company socially conscious without any any evidence to it or any indication that they should or could do that is kind of it's suspect. You know, what is a wokeness scorecard, right? For investors.
Here's the problem though with that: the wokeness scorecards written by 15-year-olds. The BlackRock, I think, got called out, and if not, I apologize, BlackRock. I think BlackRock or one of them got called out for their ESG because everyone's like, "You're not ESG, you just say you are." Like all these companies
Right.
are getting called out because they're really not. But at the end of the day, we don't live in a society that cares about the planet, the people, this. We care about greed is good and profit. And I think ESG is an interesting concept, but until you and you
Well,
can make it's a good concept, and until you have, if you will, like a real report card that somebody, whether it's an outside agency or a government agency, that says, okay, John, you say you're ESG. Let us go through it. Like if you want to be a B Corp, there's all these steps you have to
that's
go
right.
through and get checked off. To say you're ESG, we can take 2OF Entertainment tomorrow and go, we're ESG, and we can label it and tell everybody, and they'd be like, oh, okay, they're
And
ESG.
and there's no way to validate it. But also
Correct.
there's this the Financial Times article, they should sponsor us. The Financial Times article made a good point, is that even just having ESG as a singular concept
Right.
is a mistake.
Yep.
Because it's not a singular concept. You have the environment, which is separate from social constructs, which is
Right.
separate from corporate governance, and they should be considered, if they're going to be considered in the way that you choose to invest in a company, they should be considered separately anyway.
Right.
And they're not. They're being grouped into this, what actually some people say, well, not just some people. There's, that new presidential candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Say that 3 times fast.
Yeah, I got it right though. I got it right. But his national grassroots director, Kathy Barnett, wrote an article or wrote an opinion piece in Newsweek, admittedly, but in Newsweek, just saying that is ESG really just code for things like climate change activism or social justice warriorism, or or diversity mandates, whatever you want to call those things. So is that what's really happening? I think that's I hear that's what's really happening, is that it's being used. This originally maybe a thoughtful idea was being used to manipulate companies into doing things that maybe they shouldn't even be involved in.
Yeah,
I agree with that. But the other thing is
BlackRock used the ESG as a tool to force to I don't know, forces to heavily influence companies to change their attitude towards the environment, with the E. Then the social justice aspect, well, we need to hire certain types of people for jobs. And then the governance, I'm not sure what the governance piece is, but
there's no governance piece. Are you kidding?
So then you also, the problem is with the ESG is that for you to get a let's call it a rating, an ESG rating, you go to a couple of rating agencies and you pay them, which is the same model that that you get for credit ratings, right? You're paying the credit agency to give you a credit rating. So there's that conflict of interest. So that's why it's kind of morphed into this big problem. It wasn't a big problem, and because if you had you had the label, and it was you did what you could to meet that standard. But then you got guys like BlackRock, which indirectly control a lot of money through their funds, and when the need to so basically they used the voting of board members to influence companies or force them or cajole them to really implement a lot of these policies internally in each firm. So all right, you have to declare be
Right.
zero carbon by the year X, and that you're going to invest in a whole bunch of initiatives to reduce your carbon footprint, and that you'll also hire say 20% of the board and employees at senior level that are from minority groups or
Right.
what, right? So there's that social aspect, social justice aspect, and so naturally this comes eventually to the attention of people that are opposed to that, which so the majority
Yeah,
of the
but John,
ESG.
if I may, I don't think it
Yeah,
has anything to be people that are opposing. Like in the article in the FT, and I'm looking at it right now, Daniel Cash said basically the conflict is that, which they found out in 2008, is people, like you said, are paying the rating agencies to say, "Oh, you're a good boy or girl." The other problem is that um, the potential problem or the gap. It also says that people are under the illusion that the ESG really measures everything you just talked about: carbon credit, social
Right.
governance. It doesn't measure any of that. It's just a label that you get. So there's a delusion that
Well,
says that people, it doesn't measure, it doesn't do this, it doesn't do that. That's a problem.
I,
You
I
know what I
think
mean?
part of what it. No, you're right about that. The I think the biggest problem is that people think of it. People think of ESG as this monolithic, as this well-defined,
Right.
rating, and the reality is, and the article again points out these two really good points. The reality is that the people doing the analysis are not subject to any sort of scrutiny on conflicts of interest. So
Right.
that's what talks with John about who's getting paid for what. But the other aspect is that there's the ESG, and what constitutes an ESG rating is not even well defined.
Right.
And they don't work on any sort of audited data. They work on just unaudited ideas about what the company's doing to mitigate its risk in the environmental, social, and governance space.
Right.
So what we're basically saying is people think that ESG means one thing, but it's not even clearly defined what it means across rating agencies, and they're not even doing it on clearly audited data.
But that's why I
yeah,
said
there's
about a B
Meaningless.
company. If you want to be a B Corp, right? It's literally you fill out the 10,000 page checklist, right? And there's an
Right.
organization that actually
That's right.
checks it and says, "Hey, John, you really are a B Corp." But if the three of us start Newco and say, "Hey, you know what we're going to do? We're ESG." And we can go and pay, which has been going on for years. You just pay a rating agency to give you
Right.
whatever you need, and they go, "Yes, you're an ESG company." And if someone ever said to you, like if we're on a podium talking, "So tell us how you do your ESG," hamada 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 hamada
Right.
hamada. I mean, and that's kind of the problem is we've become a society that we believe everything, we question nothing, and ESG is just another,
Yeah.
in my opinion, a way for a scam for a rating agency to make money.
Well, and that's
well,
what people are doing is they're exploiting, these agencies maybe are exploiting the fact that there's all this uncertainty about what it even
Right.
is. And the thing is, and people want to, I think the investors, the average investor, and even maybe institutional investors do want to do whatever they want to try to do what the right thing is.
Keep their
But
job.
but ESG is not, well, that's right. You should do your job. That's the start. But it's not that these things are well defined in any
Correct.
sense. So there's a lot of
yeah.
of confusion to exploit.
John?
What I was going to say is that it's become a marketing tool. BlackRock is sort of the poster child because, again, they through their funds they control around $6 trillion. I think that's the number,
Right.
and so they've used it they've created funds that are called ESG funds, and you start looking at the companies that are part of a lot of these funds, they're nothing close to what potentially that rating or label is, right? And what's happened over the last, I don't know, 2 years is the politics of the country has been looking at these funds, and essentially all Republican states have said, "Hey, look, this doesn't. We don't want this, and so we're not going to invest in these funds, and we're going to prohibit state funds and pension funds from investing in these funds." And there's a lot of backlash on it, and people have been withdrawing funds from these so-called ESG funds. Now BlackRock is backtracking, and they're taking away the ESG label of a lot of their funds because they're getting people are actually looking at it and saying, "Hey, this is just bullshit." Plus you're telling companies how to do things, and it's not really your. It's more of a political. It's turned into a political agenda.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Larry Fink, I pick on this guy because he is he's been pushing this for years. And who the hell do you think you are? Is my point. Just because you're the head of this behemoth that people invest in your funds, he's used it as a political tool for him for his support of the Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, that's a problem that's identified by a lot of the critics, is to say regardless of what the original intent of ESG was, it's being used in a way to circumvent any sort of real policy debate at the ballot box or otherwise, and is being used as kind of a bludgeon to get to get companies to do things that are aligned with certain policies, political policies, when really it's to the detriment of the companies, it's to the detriment of the country even. And I think people are finally having a wake up call to it, is to say, look, if you're going to do if you actually care about ESG and what it seems to, what's supposed to purport to do, then you have to define what it is first, and then you have to be very clear and objective about how you apply it. I mean, that would be the way to do it if you were to do it correctly.
But here's the thing. Our planet's a fickle planet. Today, we're all up in arms that ESG is BS and it's a scam and blah, blah, blah. And I hate to agree with Elon Musk on anything.
Right.
But yes, tomorrow, we're going to go after people who plant maple trees in their backyard, because then they're taking it away from Canada and getting, syrup. We don't stick with anything because it's whatever the news cycle is. So it's a 20-second soundbite. So it was nice that the FT wrote a whole big article on it. And we've discussed ESG before on the show and said it's a bunch of crap. Actually, on No Snobs or Knobs, which comes on about an hour and a half, 2 hours after this show, we discussed ESG as well as something called HME, which is what they use in Norway. And we discussed how that's a scam and how they do a whole bunch of social dumping and this and that. So, but they all have the HME thing, which is like ESG. So it's been going on forever. So if you want to hear that, a different perspective, we can hear the Norwegians' perspective on No Snobs or Knobs later. But it's just very interesting because we were discussing it because of the article. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then they were like, yeah, but no, here's all the issues we have. And they just called it something different. So every country has, if you will, its own ESG.
Right.
None of them seem to do anything with it. It's kind of like I said, it's kind of like, look, we have a badge that says we're an ESG company, but then when you delve into it, nobody is in it. And if you sit down with a CEO or a board member and really ask them what it is, most of them don't know what ESG stands for, which is interesting. B, they don't know what they're supposed to do with it. And C, if you go to a shareholder or a stakeholder, they don't really care. All they want to know is that, did you make profit last quarter? Are we going to make profit next quarter? Do we have any lawsuits? And is everything we're doing legal? Other than that, I don't think they care that the moniker is ESG. There's no carbon credit. I remember in the 90s, and even the early 2000s with carbon credit, we're like, oh, we're going to do carbon credit this. And we were doing carbon credit deals all over the world, and carbon credit kind of faded away. You know what I mean? So we're fickle. We get into these cycles.
It's not effective. The carbon credit system is actually very ineffective. Which is,
but that's my point. ESG is the same. Another topic. Yeah, but ESG is sort of the same thing, right? It's not effective.
It's not effective toward, I think, what people originally intended it to be. And even then, whoever intended it to be a certain way, there should be a public debate about what it even means and what it means for the country and what it means for our society. Because it's right now it's not a debate. Right now it's being used as this political effort, and that's not helping anyone, it seems.
No, I
Look,
agree.
you know, a consequence of BlackRock's push for ESG and clean energy, they went into all sorts of oil companies and oil exploration companies, natural gas companies, and forced a whole bunch of companies to start redirecting investment. And if you didn't, they use their influence with the financial banking community to basically starve you of any kind of loans that you would be needing. And we've had 10 years, right? This is this is not a new thing. We've had 10 years where the energy sector has been completely starved of capital. Right? You couldn't get a loan, you can't issue a bond, nobody would invest in you. The biggest one is coal, right? The coal companies, the biggest one, Peabody
in the United
Energy,
States. In the United
States, Peabody, declared bankruptcy twice in the span of 10 years, and this is a company that's technically profitable, right? So so it's being used in a way that's way out of control, and now it's been completely reined back because a good chunk of the people said, "Hey, enough! We're not going to invest in you, in your funds, and we're going to stop this madness."
I mean, that's why we bring it up on this show. That's why we bring it up in the shows, because we feel like people need to know about this. People need to be aware of what's really going on, and hopefully we can keep spreading the word that it's not. I want to be clear for myself anyway that it's not that the original concept of trying to do things right by the environment or society or your employees is not worth discussing. But the issue is that there is no discussion with this. There is no standard. There is no objectivity. There's not even a rational debate about it. It's just being used in this negative way. So,
A scam. I agree. We should discuss about. Listen, let's just call it what it is. I've been very concerned about the environment since I'm 6. Okay, so and it's nice that we have debates. It's nice we have a little Swedish girl that sails a boat over and goes to the UN, does absolutely nothing because nobody cares, and she's faded away after 3 or 4 years. So it's very nice that we have it, but really until big, as John's saying, a coal company, an oil company, this and that, they all talk about what they do, but like it needs to be a larger debate. Like, the scientists keep warning about the ozone, but we're done. Like the planet's done. It's to have a debate on what we're going to do now to survive. So I have a problem with this. It's with the horses are already out of the stalls, and now we're like, hey, we should close it. Well, maybe we should have thought of this 30 years ago. And to your point, maybe we should have discussed ESG in a more open forum and said, hey, listen, for you to get this little Monica, right? Maybe the Environmental Protection Agency, using something here in the US, should have said, listen, here's the checklist. If you make the checklist, we give you a little letter and a little certificate. And it says, congratulations, you are a real ESG company. And every year you audit 10% of the companies who say they're ESG and make sure that they pass. But we just, like I said, if the 3 of us decide to start Newco and say we're ESG, no one's going to question it. And all you need to do is have a good 30-second spiel if somebody asks you, how are you ESG? Oh, blah, 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 done. And so to John and your point, I thank God for the FT article, and they should sponsor us. So we'll have to call them. They're owned by Nikki, by the way, the Japanese company. So we have to suck up to them and have sushi. So that's all I can say.
Yeah,
I'll have the sushi.
But the good thing is we're going to talk about AI deepfakes. So we'll send our deepfakes now.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that next.
Deepfakes will be on the show. That's right.
There you go. Oh, and by the way, if anybody, because we're going to put, I know where this gets sent to. If you're an ESG expert, you can tell us to F off. You can put your comments below. But more importantly, after you tell us how stupid we are, why don't you reach out to us and come on the show and defend it or explain what we don't know, because we aren't experts in it. We just read an article. Okay. So if you want to come on the show and say, no, this is why ESG is good, this is what we do, we would love to hear from you. So we make this offer all the time. There's only a handful of people that have the balls to show up on Lost Dollar Business Club. In fact, talking about
And
that,
one of those
this
people,
guy will be here.
that's right.
This guy will be here next week. So there
That's
you
right.
go.
We've got Cory Doctorow next week, the Canadian-British author who is critiquing big tech and their trust activities, their monopolistic activities, and we'll have that conversation next week. Very excited for
We
that.
should almost do that as a live show and let people ask questions, but we're not. You can, but if it gets enough views and people want to do a live thing with him, we'll come back and do a
we could
live
do a live
show.
show. That'd be great.
There you go. All right, let's talk about AI deepfakes, because I think we've beaten ESG to death.
Well, I sent you. Hopefully, let's talk about the Wired article. So I love that.
Yep.
I love that magazine, Wired magazine.
Yep.
I've been reading it for a long time, and it turns out that deepfakes have already been in play in Slovakia's election, because right before this very tight election, there were faked audio recordings from the candidates that may have actually influenced the actual election, because they were posted during this moratorium ahead of the polls, so that the media outlets and the politicians are supposed to stay silent during this 48-hour period. But instead, these recordings came out, and so they really couldn't defend against it, even though they were fake, and they were not even clearly fake, because it was difficult to find out that they were not real. So this is a big deal, because this is something that's happening already, and with the deep fakes, I mean, it's very difficult to tell that it's a deep fake. That's the issue. People aren't ready for it.
Well, they've been doing deep fakes on YouTube with like celebrities. Like I saw one a couple years ago with Tom Cruise and all this other stuff. And I understand the problem with it now for elections. But here's the other problem. I don't think anybody cares. Yeah, but nobody cares. Like, do you see how many people show up to a vote? They don't care. They don't go for they just go for like, oh, he's the popular idiot. So now maybe in Slovakia they take it more seriously than we do in the United States democracy. So for them it's a big thing. But if I'm thinking more in the way of espionage. If I want to like control your country, I can deep fake because people don't think, right? So you can put stuff out on YouTube or TikTok, because that's where they're going to end up really using a candidate's thing, or a leader's fake. That's where you screw up your country. That's where you can screw up other countries. Like you could have Biden go, we're going to go to war tomorrow with North Korea. And it may not be Biden, right? It could be a deep fake that he puts out on TikTok. And all of a sudden, North Korea is gearing up to, Missile Boy's getting all excited. He gets to test his stuff. So that's where I worry about it more than an election, because I don't think people really pay attention. I think most people the problem is, once again, I read articles about the candidates. I will watch them in a debate. I will do this. I don't really pay attention to a 30-second Instagram or TikTok, because I don't watch that stuff, or something on YouTube other than our stuff, because I don't know if it's real or not, and it's just BS. So I also like long form. I want 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, an hour so I can go, I get it. Because 30-second soundbite doesn't do it.
You're a freaking boomer, and this wasn't a video. This was an audio thing. This was an audio.
Right, I don't listen to that either, so we're good.
So it was done 2 days before the election. 2 days before the election. Yeah, people are heavily influenced. They change their minds from one day to another, and if all of a sudden they hear something that's really controversial, that's completely fabricated, with very little possibility to disavow it, because the technology is there, or it's too short, and audio to as the article points out, to disprove that it's not real audio is extremely difficult, right? So I think it's extremely dangerous that anybody can throw this out, and it doesn't cost anything. And
It doesn't cost anything, and they're doing it with there's rumors that it's being done with videos too, of videos of a crowd gathered in Warsaw that was opposing the city government. They were saying that there were only 1 million people, but the video looked like a lot more than that, and it could have been. There's rumors that it could have been doctored with, which if more content like that comes out, which it will, then we have an issue of not being able to believe anything you see, read, or hear. And
well, that's where we're at that point, though, Michael.
Well, right. You should be critical. You should be critical of what you consume. Right. That's for sure.
But I mean, like when I read something in the Financial Times, I assume, which is the worst, that it's 90% accurate. And then I try to find a second or third source. So it's going to be the Journal. Right. It's going to be the New York Times. So if everyone says we were there, this is what happened, I'm like, okay, I have 3 eyewitnesses, so to speak. Right. I'm good with that. But that's what I'm saying. An audio and all this other crap, I could care less about. I don't listen. I could go listen to audios. Like I said, if there's a debate, I want to see debate. Now, if you tell me they can take a 1-hour debate and deepfake that, now that's where the issue will start coming. And I'm sure they will at some point.
You guys use AI to create your movies, and that would be the same. That would be the same technique to create
and we have a debate coming out next week with Trump and Biden. Don't miss it. It's going to be great. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we do but we, because we're good stewards, when we make a movie in AI, we credit, if you ever watched AI, it says directed and produced by AI old fart, written by AI old fart. I mean, like, we give AI credit. We take no credit for anything we do in AI. So we're very blunt about that. It's AI.
Actor,
well, I know.
Well, this is what the that other article I sent you guys on that Wired was talking about, is that now we're really in this. They're calling it the AI detection arms race, because that's the thing. Is how do you detect AI generated content, which is nearly impossible right now. It's very difficult. And but the fact is, students are working on it, researchers are working on it. How do you figure out whether content was computer generated and was AI generated? And it's happening. We're in it. And the question is, where does it end?
Nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, right.
That's where it ends. It ends with the destruction of the planet and how 2001 is taken over. Yes, I'm so excited. So
I know you've been waiting for that. Yeah.
Can I tell you, the lizard people and I, we have our dialogues on every day before the show, and we're all excited. So we're looking forward to it. But no, you see deepfakes now. I'm a big UFO or UAP or whatever they want to call it guy. And there's a one that came out the other day, and everyone's like, this is so fake. And the guy even said, yeah, he just made it for fun. He was on an airplane, took pictures of clouds, and he went home and did it with a game that has a UFO in it that jets are shooting down. So he superimposed, because the jets and the UFO look real, he put it in there. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So now, that's what I'm saying. If you film something, like if the 3 of us are out and we film the same thing, and then we show the video, and it showed there are 3 videos from 3 different angles, show the same thing, I think we're good. My concern is now, whether it's audio, visual, whatever it might be, it's just, all it is, if you will, for lack of a better term, espionage at another level. And as technology goes further, last week I read an article, and I think it was The Economist. The CIA now has AI to do deception, and somewhere in the Middle East they have AI to can figure out who's going to be on their kill list. Right, so they're taking the human out of it.
That's
so
what
we're using AI for everything, which is good to an extent, but to another extent, like, hold back. So your deep fake stuff, it's only a matter of time. And I think, like ESG, at some point they're going to have a real law globally that says if you use AI, you have to at least give AI credit or say something about it. Now, to your point about bad players, if I use AI to make a speech before an election, so my candidate wins, of course, I'm not going to go, this was made by AI. Now, I may, but if you listen to most political commercials at the end where they give credit to whoever, it's like, AI, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what did he say? And nobody listens, right? So that's going to be the other issue, I think. But I don't know. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
We've got to look forward to it. We've got to look forward to it. It's an
You
exciting
want to do
time.
Lost and Found?
Really
Regardless.
dangerous.
We should do Lost and Found.
Let's get to Lost and Found. Let's do it.
Michael wants to do. John, you ready? You got something today?
Oh God.
Yeah, oh God.
So who's lost a dollar this week? And who's found a dollar this week?
Well,
All right, boys and
I'll
girls.
give you.
Well,
I'll
all right.
give
I
you.
have
I'll give you
something that's
something.
not
John's
really.
got something.
No, John.
Yeah,
John is still like jet lagged from his trip to the land of the Austrian. So you
Yeah,
know,
look,
he's
all I
still
can
eating
say
Wiener
is just,
Schnitzel and sausages.
yeah,
Go ahead.
schnitzel is good, goulash is good, yeah, the beer
There
was
you go.
good. Yeah, it's good,
Only John.
you know.
What do you got? John, okay, let me go first,
All
John. This
right,
will give you time to
so
find something on the internet.
last week,
Oh,
or was it
yeah.
last week? Uh, the Prime Minister of Canada, Trudeau,
Oh, this is going to be good.
and the Parliament,
Yeah.
how should I put it? They
I don't know, but you should
they
put it in our
honored
lifetime.
and they honored a Ukrainian old boy who was part of the Waffen SS Galicia division in
Yes,
Ukraine.
I saw
I
that.
heard about that.
Yes, right. This is how bad this Trudeau boy is. He is just off the rocker. I mean, crazy. So, like, it's not a dollar, but it's just, what a bad
That's a
way to.
loss.
That's a
Yeah,
loss.
that's a
No, that's
huge
a big
loss.
That's a
loss.
loss,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
That's a
just
loss. Yeah, I
huge
agree.
loss. And I saw that.
And I
was like, what?
watched the video. I watched the
You did,
video of
yeah.
their parliament, not the video of the Nazi. I watched the video of the lady in parliament get up, the opposing party, and saying, like, what were you thinking? And the ladies and the lady that's running their parliament said, I didn't invite him. It was done by the prime minister. And then the lady was like, he's an idiot. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, dude, you'd be called an idiot in Canada. That's pretty bad. Like you screwed up big time. But yeah, they said no one did the background check. No one did this. No one did that. Like they didn't even know what he was. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. That's so stupid.
Yeah,
That's a loss. That's a big loss. Yeah, for Canada and for the Trudeau and everybody.
Trudeau, certainly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got something a lot more innocuous. So, Prada, the great fashion artist, fashion clothes manufacturer. Prada will help design the new spacesuits with NASA.
Yeah.
And that's in part because they said they've done work with materials, obviously, for the America's Cup, the sailing competition.
Yep.
So they want to use their expertise to create better spacesuits. I just think it's interesting that, I mean, it's definitely a win for Prada. They get to work with NASA. That's a fun dollar for Prada. I don't know what that says about NASA, though, that they don't have their own experts to create a spacesuit. So
since the budget cutbacks, they got like 6 people running the whole joint now, and that's why they let Elon and what's his face, Bezos, send their rockets into thing. And with the aliens coming and taking over, I think NASA's just giving up.
It'll be fine.
They're like, whatever. But if you look at this SpaceX suits, they look really cool. And you look at the suits our guys still wear, it's still the 1969, like Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, like we're going to go into space and conquer the world suit. And I'm like, well, at least Elon's suits look good. I'll give you credit there, Elon. That's all I'm giving you credit
maybe that's why they brought in Prada.
There you go. But think of if I'm Prada, you know how much money I'm going to make? Like once I put out a spacesuit, I'm going to have spacesuit bags, spacesuit this, spacesuit that, and purses for girls. And Prada is going to make billions and billions. I read this article yesterday and I just laughed the whole time I read it, thinking whatever deal Prada made with NASA, this is huge. And I'm like, kudos to you, Prada. Kudos to you. So very cool because your product is Louis Vuitton would have been better. Anyway, so good found out. And here we don't have David for Fakakta, but this isn't Fakakta. Alibaba is accused of potential espionage at the European hub of a port. They're accused of spying at a port. There's a whole article in the FT about it. I was reading it and I just start chuckling and I'm like, really, this is a shock. Like,
Right.
it's right, like, why once again do we think this is a shock? We're playing this global conquer game. When we were kids, we played a game called Risk. I don't know
Oh
if you guys
yeah.
played.
Oh
This
yeah.
is Risk, just in real world,
That's right.
right? And with all the technology and with all, this is all just what it is. It's just a game. So I just get a kick out of it. But I thought that was very
Yeah,
funny when I read about.
a game with very serious, real consequences.
Right. So,
Yeah.
well, what
Yeah.
are they going to? They're going to wipe out Austria.
Besides
Yeah.
that,
But other than that, how is the play, Mrs. Lincoln? So,
right.
it's one of those things. So anyway, everybody, that's our show. Next week, we have our
Next
special
week, we
guest. We have our special guest, and we're excited about that. I think Kurt will be here, and he's Canadian. That'll be fun. David won't be because the show will be done too late for David. It'll be past his bedtime. But don't forget to subscribe and like. You can check out the links below for the merch. You can check out the links below to see if you want to listen to us on the podcast, because God forbid you would look at us. I don't know what you would look at us for. So you can do that. And it has everything else you need to know. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, reach out, especially if you're someone that knows about ESG and can correct us from the error of our ways. Yeah. Or if you're from BlackRock and you want to defend yourself, that'll be fun. So yeah, we'd love to talk to you as well, John especially. And then that's it. So thank you for being fans. We appreciate all of you. We're up to 26,000 subscribers, 500,000 views. So we're very excited about that as we keep growing. And that's it, boys. Anything else before we say goodbye to everybody?
Let's do it. All right.
All right, kids. We'll see you all next week. Have a great day. Cheers.